Okay, let's turn symmetry on so that when I go to cut this object, it cuts equally from one side to the other. Now, for symmetry, the thing we're going to use is something called the Modeling Toolkit. So the Modeling Toolkit lives in a couple places. On the far right-hand side of your screen, you have these three tabs. The Modeling Toolkit is the middlemost tab. And if you just go to the top of your window here, under Mesh Tools, you have the option to hide or show your modeling toolkit. Now, to turn symmetry on, we need to make sure we have the object selected, not components. So again, this is component mode. When it's blue like this, you actually want it to be bright green for object mode. You can switch between modes by holding down the right mouse button. I'm still holding it down, and when I hover my mouse over the mode that I want, and I let go, it switches to that mode. So I'll just click and hold, hover over object mode, let go, switches back to object mode. So with my object selected that I want to have symmetry on, the first thing I need to do is figure out which axis, so X, Y, or Z, is it going to be, do I want that symmetry to be mirrored across? Easiest way to tell, you can either look down at your compass or just bring up your move tool. And with your move tool selected, you can see what axes this object sits on. So since I want to have my modeling mirrored from left to right here across, basically horizontally across this image, I want that arrow that's also horizontally across this chair right now. So that arrow, if I looked at the compass, it's red. On the compass, the red one is the X. So I'm going to be mirroring across the X. Now in my modeling toolkit here, you'll see where it says symmetry, it's currently off. If I click on that arrow for the drop-down menu, the option I have here is Object X. So that is turning symmetry on across the X object on that object. Across the X axis on that object. So I'll click on that, and you'll see that, so that's turned blue. So if I go back to my multi-cut tool, and if I hold down Control once more, you'll see now that it creates a highlight on both sides equally. I'm only hovering my mouse over one side, and it's automatically shown me exactly the same thing on the other side. So I'll drop down that first slat, and you'll see that there's a little bit of space between them. So I'm going to drop down an edge loop for that space. So once again, I'm holding down Control, and I'm still holding down Control, and it's just going to give me a little highlight so long as I hover my mouse. I'm going to hover my mouse until I find the point where it looks kind of like the space between those slats, and we'll create that enough space for that middle slat to come from. And again, we need a little bit of space between this and the last slat, and then finally we'll create what that last slat will look like. Now, so that's symmetry. And at this point I'm done because I want to pull the slat from one side of the object to the other. Like, what I don't want to do is have this happen, where I'm pulling from both sides at the same time. So to turn off symmetry, all you have to do is, once again, have the object selected. So you definitely want to have that object selected. And over on symmetry, once more in that modeling toolkit, which you can find here on the tabs on the right, under symmetry, just go select that drop down again and just go off. And you'll see now that if I go to select a face, it only selects that face. Okay, so that is symmetry.